Hey everyone, it's Caleb Williams here. I'm actually at TaxSpot's studio and I'm going to be presenting the wealth blueprint that was never taught in school. So a little bit of background on who I am is I've dedicated my life to helping entrepreneurs, helping people that they are their greatest asset, take back control over their money. I wrote the book called The And Asset, The Secret Way to Save and Use Your Money at the Same Time. In this presentation, I'm going to talk about the best stuff that I've written in my book. I'm going to also talk about things that I've learned on my podcast because I've interviewed successful entrepreneurs and people in the wealth space for the last 2 years. And I've really had the opportunity to speak to many across the country as it relates to what I'm about to share with you. And I've really taken all the best things that I've learned, put them into a presentation, and I want to give you pure value and help you understand the power of what we have to offer. In this presentation, we're going to learn 3 things. The first thing that we're going to learn is the financial problems that we face as entrepreneurs. Regardless if you're an entrepreneur, if you're just someone that's employed or someone that wants to get ahead financially, there are a lot of financial problems that we face. The second thing is the 2 most powerful financial forces that we must take advantage of. A lot of marketers out there will try to pitch you something that you should take action on, and I really want to share with you the education of the principles and why I believe what I believe. And finally, the proven strategy that unlocks both of these forces and gives you the key to true wealth. Okay, so a little bit about my backstory is my journey really started at Sunday Produce. Sunday Produce was a chicken factory where I got my first job and I got paid $1 per chicken that I got to process, and I started loving and falling in love with working hard, and I got paid pretty good money for being 15 years old. But then I started getting into reading books. I read books on leadership, I read books on finance, I read books on just entrepreneurship, and I started, my mind started being open to a whole new world. And one of the things that totally fascinated with me was my money could start working for me. Like, I worked hard every day, but my money could start working for me as well. And so I fell in love with that to the point that at 17, I got a job at a community bank. This community bank in central Wisconsin, let a 17-year-old work there, and I worked behind the teller line, and I loved it. I learned how to talk to people. I learned how money worked. I just, also understood how banks made money. And one of the things was, I just, again, was fascinated. I was kind of like that 19 or 17-year-old kid, 18-year-old kid that would try to tell the CEO on how to be more profitable for his bank because, again, I just fell in love with business. Now, when I was 19 years old, something crazy happened. See, I had the opportunity to work in different departments because I just truly loved it. When I was 19 years old, the guy that was running the bank's investment department took another job. And at 19 years old, I stepped into the corner office of Community First Bank's investment department. And at 19 years old, I ended up helping people. And if you think I look young now, imagine what that was like when I took it on. It was truly a blessing in disguise. And when I take a step back, I'm like, man, they were totally crazy to let me do that. Now, the CEO of Community First Bank, and he's quite frankly like a second father to me, He sat me down and said, Caleb, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I know you care. I know you're going to do the best things by your clients and by our clients. And so I'm going to let you just go out and learn from the best. And so the other blessing in disguise is he didn't have me learn from one person, but he let me go out and learn what I'm about to share with you. I learned that through the journey of taking over at 19, but really having the freedom to going out and learning from the best. And so I made a mission statement on that day. I remember when I was taking over, I was kind of overwhelmed. And I'm like, man, what do I want? I want to make sure that I'm doing the best thing for my clients. And what hangs up on my office wall to this day is the quote, to help people see and reach their highest potential. The reason I do what I do, the reason I get so passionate about this is I literally can help someone take money as a tool, take mindset, and help them understand the mindset of wealth and help them have a bigger impact in the world. And this is what drives me to this day because unfortunately many people are unable to live to their God-given potential because of this whole money thing. And I realize if we can start taking control over our life, that doesn't have to be the story that we tell ourselves. And so on one hand, I thought I arrived, 19 years old, taking over the investment department. I was going to school for finance. I was like, this is amazing. But if you can imagine maybe the 10 minutes of horror that you experienced just now, it's like, man, I cannot believe I'm listening to someone who looks like they just got their license. And if you can imagine people coming into the bank and they're sitting down for their financial review and I come in, shut the door, and they're like, oh my goodness, what's going on? Now, I kind of had my own 10 minutes of horror when I just started realizing the massive problems people were having financially. I mean, people are not as well off as I thought they were. I thought everyone was passionate about this whole money thing, and I realized that money, unlike a tool helping people, was really ruling over most people's life. And here's a couple problems that I saw. Number one, the lack of savings. Including entrepreneurs, even people that were making a lot of money, we have a lack of savings in our country. And that's because there's very few people showing you the right strategies on how you can save more money. Most people are not saving as much money, or nearly, like most people aren't even saving a fraction of what they should be saving. And again, it's not their fault. There's no money to save because we're not being efficient with it. The next thing is the debt that we're experiencing. I was blown away by the amount of debt that college students are experiencing, people that are buying their houses, buying cars, and what we feel like we're overwhelmed. We feel like we're practically drowning in debt. And again, very few people are teaching us the best ways to power down our debt throughout our life. The third thing that I was just shocked is this amazing thing called compound interest was working for nobody. Like literally no one is getting compound interest lifelong. And I didn't understand why, because in school they teach us how to calculate compound interest, but I didn't understand that there were factors working against our money every single day that'll limit our ability to grow our money long term. And so I realized that most people weren't even getting the compound growth that they thought they were going to get. Number four is the lack of retirement that people are actually experiencing. I experienced retirees. I experienced people nearing retirement coming in to the bank, sitting down and saying, "Caleb, I've worked my entire life. I've saved this money. Can you show me how much money I can have in retirement?" And for the first time, they understood the lack of flexibility, the lack of control, the lack of power that their accounts had. See, you're retired. There's one thing about saving or investing to retirement, taking the risk to having to retirement, but just because you have money doesn't mean it will show up in the way that you think. And I just remember having this bad taste in my mouth, realizing that most people weren't actually going to have the life that they thought they were going to live because they weren't doing the right thing because of lack of knowledge. The fifth thing was taxation. I could not believe the way that people were thinking as it relates to the ignorance that we had in future taxation. I mean, to this day, people are saying taxes are going to be lower when you hit retirement. There's no way taxes are going to increase. And right now, as I record this, I believe that we have some of the best tax laws as entrepreneurs and as employees. And yet we are taught to do the exact opposite. We're taught to defer, to postpone, and gamble with what could be the biggest risk to your money, to your wealth, is taxation and the future taxation. And no one had a tax strategy as it relates to their wealth. And then no one really had flexibility. I saw entrepreneur after entrepreneur. I saw people coming into the bank that needed money. And in fact, they've been working sometimes 5, 10, 15, 20 years, contributing to accounts that they had zero control over, contributing to accounts that they couldn't access to, but yet they were begging for a loan to maybe fund the dream that they wanted to live. And I remember thinking, man, that's not someone that's showing up powerfully in their life. And again, it's not their fault, it's what we've been taught. We're just the symptom of what we've been taught to do as it relates to our wealth. And so the myths that we've been taught are simply this: to take all the risk. See, the definition of risk is your chance of loss. So only in America are we saying let's increase your chance of loss and you'll get a better rate of return. So we as consumers are taking all the risk. Then we're told to postpone tax. Don't pay tax now. Postpone it to a day where you're not going to pay any tax or you'll be in a lower tax bracket. Let me ask you a question. Do you want to be in a lower tax bracket? Do you want to be poor in the future? Do you think taxes are going to be lower in the future? If you just start looking at where our country's at, where our national debt's at, where our spending's at, you start using some logic, you realize that there's a very low chance of taxes being lower. In fact, there's a very high chance due to mathematics that taxes could be a lot higher in retirement. So we're taking all the risk, we're postponing tax, we're getting penalized for using our own money. Now granted, some of these people are well-intentioned. They're saying, we're going to penalize you because if we don't, you're going to spend all that money. But here's the reality. We get penalized for using our own money. I mean, that just, again, doesn't sit well with me, and I don't know about you. But one of the biggest problems with retirement accounts is you give up total control. See, as an entrepreneur, How does it make you feel that you're literally giving up money to some institution that you don't fully understand what's going on? You don't know what's going on behind each company's boardrooms. And in fact, you're giving up total control and you're diversifying what could be make or break in your life. And especially as an entrepreneur, especially as someone that sees the value of control, that just also really gave me a distaste. And so I'm going to school for finance. I wanted to dedicate my life into helping people invest their money. And I'm realizing the same industry that I was so excited about, I kind of had a massive turnoff because of these things that I was seeing people go through. But the biggest problem that I saw in my customers and my friends and my colleagues' life that were doing this typical financial planning model was that they devalued themselves. They devalued themselves in the way that they thought about their time. They devalued themselves as the way that they thought about their money. And this one's really, you guys, I believe that you are your greatest asset. The very best investment you can make is in yourself. The very best investment that you might have is in your business. The best thing that you could do is invest in education or put yourself in a room that could help you meet that kind of person that could take your business to the next level. And the way that we've been taught about money is to do the exact opposite. It's to do the exact opposite as it relates to our wealth. And I just remember thinking, man, this is not right. I don't want to dedicate my life into something that is pretty much telling people to diversify their life and to take money away from investing in themselves and take that money. And then I also saw that the people who are truly winning had the exact opposite mindset. And so I committed to doing something better. I committed that there's got to be a better way. And so I started on this journey, and I, being passionate, being young, looking like I was 15 years old, started calling some of the top people around the country and saying, listen, this is who I am. I want to truly help people, and I know that you're an expert, and would you help me? And I stand to you just as a result of the many people that have poured their time and energy and money into my life to help me get to where I am. And so I eventually discovered, and this is no secret, you know this, that the banks, that the corporations, that the ultra wealthy are doing the exact opposite than what we've been taught. See, you can think that there's some kind of unfair advantage as it relates to this whole wealth thing, and the people that know the rules of the game will win every single time. And so I want to introduce to you the two most powerful wealth forces. See, I have zero intention to teach you some little mimic that if you use in your life will change your life. I want to teach you the principles that took me far too long to truly comprehend, but I want to teach you the principles that if you understand these two powerful wealth forces and apply them to your life, you will be wealthy. And the two principles are understanding compounding and understanding the function of control. You don't have to choose between one or the other. You can have both. But before I teach you on how to have both, I want to explain to you how both of them are so powerful as they stand alone, and why putting them together is really the only way and the best way to become wealthy. Now, the secret is getting both, and that's why this slide is so key, is if you can have both, you will win every single time. Now, the first financial force is compounding. Albert Einstein is noted for saying, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. Now, whether Albert Einstein said that or not, compounding is this thing that is toted in our space, and it is a truly powerful function that our money can do. And to really break down compounding, you need three things to happen. You need money, which is a problem for most people. You need your money to earn a rate of return, but then you need your money to grow over a long period of time. And if you don't have one of these three, money, interest rate, or time, this powerful eighth wonder of the world is not going to work for you. See, here's what I got scarred, is as I realized that we're toting compound interest being this amazing thing. I'm learning this in school, but then I'm realizing that if this is so an amazing thing, why are we teaching people to take out their money at retirement? See, compound interest is a function of doing this over a long period of time. Why are we killing the goose that's laying the golden eggs? See, in this graph, you're seeing compound interest, but at 65, if you take that money out, you literally kill the power of compound growth. And this is happening every single day. People are risking all their money, letting it grow, and it's not even growing in the way that they think it's growing, and then they're not able to capitalize it when they need it the most. And so again, I'm saying, on one hand, we're saying compound interest is this amazing thing. On the other hand, we're one of the biggest hypocrites as it relates to our wealth. See, I want to share with you kind of a story, and it's an extreme story, but I want to talk to you about the power of compounding, but then also the things that will prohibit our money to compound. If I asked you, would you rather have $1 million today or have a penny that doubles every day for the next 30 days? Well, you probably would choose the penny because you know that I'm setting this up for the power of compounding. But most people, if they just think about it and they don't think about it, or if they don't think about it that long, they'd be like $1 million, because a penny doubling, like I would much rather have $1 million. But here's the deal. Day one, you have a penny. Day two, you have two. And you start looking at this penny doubling, and you get to day 10 and you only have $5.12 and you're like starting to sweat. But in fact, day 28, you have over $1.3 million. This picture is a picture of Rockefeller Avenue in New York, and this is over $1 million worth of pennies, and that's huge. And in fact, day 30, you would have over $5.3 million. So you're feeling like really, really great. And obviously this is extreme because you're not going to earn 100% on your money every single day for 30 days. But if you did, you would have over $5 million. Now here's the sad reality. Most people will never get real compounding because of the following. Because of losses. And just real quick, when you lose money, you don't just lose that money, you lose what that money could have earned you the rest of your life. I like to talk about average versus actual. See, if you had $100 and you then doubled your money, if you gave your money to me and I doubled it and you have your $100 now grows to $200, you're feeling pretty good, right? But then the next year you lose 50%. Your $200 goes back down to $100. Now, on paper, we averaged you 25% rate of return. But in all reality, your actual rate of return was 0. Every time you lose money, you don't just lose that money, you lose what that money could have earned you the rest of your life. Anytime we lose money to the market, or regardless of where we lose it, it has negative effects on our bottom line. The second thing is taxes. I already talked about taxes potentially being the biggest threat to your wealth. And most people are never going to get true lifetime compounding because they either have to pay unnecessary tax now or in the future. The third thing is fees. Fees are like a silent tax to your money. We want to eliminate that as much as possible. The fourth thing is not giving it enough time, and we've covered that. And the fifth thing is just not having a strategy to truly fund it. So let's revisit the penny example. Okay, let's say in this penny example, your money doubles every single day for 30 days, and all we got to do is pay a 2% fee. All we're doing is paying a 2% fee on the full balance. Your $5.3 million drops down to almost less than $3 million, $2.9 million. See, that's insane. If you think about, like, did that 2% fee, did you transfer almost like, what would that be, $2.3 million over? You didn't pay that to me or anyone else, but because you lost that money was no longer able to grow for you, and the lost opportunity cost of that showed up to be over $2 million just because of a 2% fee. Now let's go back, you don't have to pay the fee anymore, and let's say you skip 3 days of the market, 3 days of you not doubling your money. You're not losing any money, but you're not doubling your money. You go from $5.3 million to just a little bit over $671,000. Now, would you rather take the $1 million or the penny doubling? And what if you paid a 15% tax? Okay, what if you paid 15% tax on just the gain? Your $5.3 million would be less than $600,000. It would be $559,000. See, the reality is simple. We have things that negatively affect our money. No, you're not paying like 4.5, like you're not paying over $4 million in taxes because of a tax that's being paid. That dollar's never able to grow for you ever again. So what if all three of these things happen? Because in all reality, in life, we don't just have a fee in a bubble. We don't just have a tax in a bubble. We don't just have a loss in a bubble. All these things work against us. What if you had a 2% fee? What if 3 days your penny didn't double? And what if you had to pay a 15% tax on the growth? Your $5.3 million would be a measly $51,000. Now, this is an extreme example, but the point I'm trying to make is compound interest is math, and it's pretty powerful long term. But most of you are never getting it because you have things that are working against your money. Now, in my book, I show a time period from 1998 to 2016, because during that time period, the stock market, the S&P, did an average rate of return of over 8%. And because everyone's toting the stock market being 8%, I wanted to share an example. Okay, so the average rate of return during this time period was over 8%. Now, The actual rate of return, if you actually look at the S&P, it was less than 8%. It was actually 6.45%. Why? Because every time you lose a dollar, you don't just lose that dollar. Remember, averages are different than actual rates of return. And what if you had to pay a 15% tax on that money? What if you had to pay a 15% tax on the growth? Now your money would drop from over 8% average to an actual rate of return of a little over 4.8%. And what if you just had to pay a 2% fee? And now remember, this 2% fee cost is paying your advisors, paying the funds, is paying all the hidden fees that are going into this. A 2% fee would drop your money then less than 3%. Why in the world would you want to take all the risk, give up total control, just to earn a measly 3%? Now, I know there's many people that are earning more, but statistics say that people don't get nearly what the stock market gets, because one thing that I didn't even add in here is emotional buying and selling. Most people are not getting what they think they're getting, and most mutual funds and people that are in the market are underperforming the S&P, which I'm going off of. The point that I'm trying to make is the way that we've always grown our money may not be the best, it may not be the most efficient way to grow our money long term. We have to commit to a long-term strategy as it relates to this wealth, as it relates to compounding. Most entrepreneurs can never focus or don't have a strategy to compound their money the rest of their life. So in summary, have your money grow without ever losing it, without ever paying an unnecessary tax, and without ever having a fee. And if you can commit to this, compound interest is this amazing thing that can truly help you, but you have to commit to lifetime. You have to promise me, if you're going to do this strategy, to not just commit to a retirement, but commit to a lifetime compound growth and uninterrupted with zero interruptions, okay? All right. Powerful force number 2, and this one's key. As an entrepreneur, you can really relate to this, and this is something that I'm way more passionate about than just compounding, and it's control. See, Warren Buffett is always noted for being this guy that we quote, he's the stock guru. He's like the person that will teach you how to grow your money in the market. But in all reality, Warren Buffett's made his money because he's understand this idea of control. He's made his money because he's taken other people's money. He's bought businesses, he's restructured businesses, and with his company, Berkshire Hathaway, he's made fortunes because he gets this idea of control. Yes, he's compounded that effect. And yes, he's made money because the markets have gone up, but he's made money because he's controlled most of the businesses that he's owned. So when we think of Warren Buffett, let's think of the power and the importance that he has as it relates to controlling his money. See, remember this idea of you being your greatest asset. And one of the questions that I ask every single entrepreneur is, what's the ROI of investing in your business? See, a lot of people will ask me, Caleb, what should I invest my money in? Should I do this stock or should I do this real estate? And before I answer anything, I have to ask them, what's the ROI of investing in yourself? What's the ROI of joining that mastermind? What's the ROI of marketing? And what's the rate of return of investing in the things that you care about? See, most people are totally selling themselves out. Most people are giving up total control and getting a fraction of the result that they could get because they don't understand this principle or they're not living this principle out. See, I believe so much in this that I want people to get this idea of seeing themselves as their greatest asset and investing in things. And so what I did is I put together 12 characteristics of imperfect investment. And there's no such thing as a perfect investment, but I want to give you a checklist where you can think about where to put your money as it relates to putting you at first versus just some arbitrary rate of return, okay? Now these 12 things I'm going to go through quick, but they're very important that as you go through this, start valuing, like, where do I value this characteristic and start ranking which ones are the most important and which ones you resonate the most. Okay, number 1, safety. What's the value you have to have safety in your life, okay? Easily accessible. What's the value of an investment, of a savings account, of some kind of place that you can store cash that you have accessibility that you could use throughout your life? What's the value? What's the rate of return what's the value that you put on rate of return? Rate of return is important. It's ultimately the function of your money growing. It's important. How important is it? And really value that. Number 4 is the importance of leveraging your money. Most people aren't talking about this. We're going to uncover later the importance of banking. And the person that understands how to leverage their own money and do it in an efficient way will be far ahead of many people. That's extremely valuable, and very few people are teaching you how to leverage that. What's the importance of guarantees? What are the importance of having someone put some guarantees as it relates to your money? What's the importance, like in a perfect investment, you're not paying any percentage-based fees. How important is that to you? free of regulation. This one's key because we live in a world that things can change when a new president is in, things can change under just a new law gets passed. What's the value of having your investment, having your money off the radar screen of any kind of regulation? With that, what if we didn't have to have any contribution limits? Wouldn't it be amazing if this perfect investment that we had access to didn't have any limits to how much money you could put in? And what if that money was also protected from creditors? What value do you have your money creditor proof? Just a reminder, every single one of these are important. We've just valued this idea of rate of return, and we're not being taught that there's other values as it relates to our money. Our money is more of just a one-dimensional. It's like, think of it as like a 12-dimensional factor as it relates to money. Deductible contributions. What's the value of being able to deduct your money and put it into an investment? That's an awesome value. What's the value of having your money grow tax-free? What's the value of being able to use your money tax-free? Now you're going to see some of these and you're going to start thinking, man, my investment has some of these benefits. My savings account has some of these benefits. My strategy may have some of these benefits. I highly doubt it has all of them, but I would encourage you to write these down, to take a picture of the slide, because everything that you do going forward, you want to reference back, okay, how many of these ideal characteristics do I have? So let's put your retirement account to a test. How does your retirement plan hold up? See, what I did was I put together let's take a look at this, okay? The 12 benefits are on my computer below, and let's look at your 401k or IRA or Roth IRA. You'll see that safety, like there's nothing safe. Even though they're called securities, there's nothing secure about your investment security. Number 2 is easily accessible. Well, they're not. And usually if you have access to them, you have to pay some kind of outrageous fee or tax. Number 3 is competitive growth. Personally, quite frankly, I don't even think you're going to get a good rate of return, but I'm trying to be unbiased, and I'm saying, okay, listen, people are doing this. The way that people are listening to their guy is they're going to get a good rate of return, so I'll give that a green. But if it was up to me, I would make this yellow because it could be a competitive rate of return, but most people aren't getting the rate of return that they want. The 4th thing is you can't leverage your savings or your 401k. You're not able to use that strategy. You have to pay fees. It's not free of regulation. You have contribution limits. There are creditor protections, so that's awesome. In your 401k and your IRA, you do get a deduction, so that's great. In your Roth, you don't, but in your Roth, your money grows tax-free and can be used tax-free, which personally, I would prefer because I think taxes are at a pretty low rate now, and that I would rather take that equation off the table, whereas a 401k or IRA, you get a deduction, your money grows tax deferred, but you got to pay whatever the tax is when you're taking that money out, and we have no clue what the tax rate's going to be, and there's no such thing as a special retiree tax. I also want to talk about your money being held hostage. And when we think about what's the hostage cost, what's the opportunity cost of locking up your money in these retirement accounts. See, let's say you have a $100,000 investment opportunity. You know this could be real estate, this could be your business, this could be whatever. Think about a question mark. If you put $100,000 in over a certain period of time, you will be able to make $100,000 worth of profit. Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't you want to be able to take advantage of that? But the sad reality is, if your money is tied up in accounts that you don't have control over, you don't have access to, you can't get that money, you just missed out on that $100,000 profit. And this could be an extreme example, or this might not be an extreme example, because again, I don't know about your ability to make money or do you use money throughout your life, but I want you to start thinking about what's the hostage cost to what I'm doing currently. So most entrepreneurs, because of this, put their money in a savings account, and a savings account is fine. If you had to give me the option between a savings account and like a retirement account, I'm going to choose savings account all day long because I value safety. I value easily accessible. I value those things over a hypothetical hope that my money will grow. But I get no tax advantages. I don't have any contribution limits, which is great, but I really don't, my money doesn't really grow, and so there's a trade-off. There's that I either got to choose between some investment and put my money at risk but hope it grows, or make no money but have control and use of my capital. All right, I want you to take a deep breath. I know we've been covering a lot of ground, and it's just part of my personality. I want you to get all of this in your head, and you might have to watch this again. You may have to get my book, or regardless, there's a lot of good information here. So here's the deal. We talked about compounding, we talked about control, and a big part of control is understanding what the most profitable business in the world is. And so if I asked you, what's the most profitable business in the world, what would you respond? Well, if you said the business of banking, you're absolutely correct, because think about it. Every big building or every big stadium is usually sponsored by banks, and you have to ask the question, how do banks make money? They just control our money better than you and I. That's really the true answer. And one of my mentors, Nelson Nash, who actually passed away this year, has this famous quote that says this: learning to control your financial environment is the most profitable thing that you can do over your lifetime. Learning to control your financial environment is the most profitable thing that you can learn over your lifetime. He wrote the book, Becoming Your Own Banker, and his whole assessment was banking is the most profitable business in the world. Instead of hating on the banks, understand how to become your own banker and start to control the banking function in your own life. Now, what I want to do is I want to look at Bank of America, because Bank of America, and let's just see how they make money, okay? So Bank of America has over $860 billion worth of assets, okay? That's a lot of money, okay? Now, they've paid $1.9 billion to their depositors. So like as having a bank account with Bank of America, I guess I play a role in that fraction of that $1.9 billion. But Bank of America has also earned a little bit more than 1.9. They've earned over $44.8 billion of money, of interest that they've received. Now, what rate of return is that? What rate of return did they actually get? They got an over 2,000% rate of return, over 2,600% profit margin, because again, banking is just controlling other people's money better than what we're doing. At the end of the day, and I know this is extreme, I know if my old boss was here, he would say, Caleb, there's employment costs, there's cost of doing business, there's buildings, and I know that. So that's not their bottom line. But the reality is their investment is that, and they're earning that, and obviously they need to, pay out other costs. So it's not a true 2,600% profit margin, but mathematically that's what it looks like before they pay out their employees and pay out all the things that they have throughout the country. So I'm going to go through the 5 principles of banking that every entrepreneur should be doing in their business immediately. Okay, these are really important. Write these down. Understand these, because if you get this, regardless of what you do in the future, if you get these 5 principles, you'll be able to show up more powerfully. You'll be able to take the principles of banking, and it'll really, literally change your life. So number 1 is understanding flow. See, banks, Wall Street, institutions that are truly winning are experts at getting money to flow towards them. Okay, so you want to figure out strategies to get your money to flow to you. Step number 2 is they understand the importance of leverage. Leverage is an incredible gift, incredible power, and very few people are truly understand leverage. So for instance, let's say you're the bank and I give you $100. Okay, you have $100 and you pay me 1%. Okay, so I make $1. I make $1 off that transaction, and then you take my $100 and loan it out to someone else, and you charge them 4%. You didn't just make 3%, you made 300%, because your investment was $1. I gave you the $100, you used my money to earn an extra 3, that's a 300% rate of return. If you ever wonder why they give us suckers, is every time we deposit money, we're the ultimate sucker, because we're letting the banks and institutions control our money better than us. And that function of leverage is they're using other people's money to accomplish what they want to accomplish. It's a powerful force, and if we want to become wealthy, we have to understand how to do this in a wise and smart way. The third aspect is liquidity. Liquidity is having access to money. Think about it. Banks, because they have all the money, everyone comes to them. Nelson Nash, in his book, Becoming Your Own Banker, has what he calls the golden rule. And he pretty much says, those who have the gold make the rules. If you have money throughout your life, you will have opportunities that very few people have. I have this concept called the opportunity magnet. The person that has access to money, opportunities will seek them out. And it's so true. Bank doesn't have to convince people to come to. They actually get people to apply and go through some hoops just to see if they can get money, because they have liquidity. Number 4, banks use what's called collateral. They not only loan out your money and leverage it, but they make you put up collateral. They make you put up your house. They make you put up your car, saying, if you don't pay, we're gonna take your asset and we're not gonna lose out on this deal. We have to understand collateral, and later we're gonna talk about collateral and leverage. And if you have both, you're really in a good spot. But the fifth, and kind of the secret to this whole bank thing, is understanding the power of velocity. See, velocity is this idea of turning money multiple times. And when you think of a river versus a pond, a still pond is can be gross and there's nothing really attractive about it. It can smell, versus a river is really powerful, moving. Well, our money is just like that. Our money needs to be in motion. Money in motion creates more money. And so often we're just taught to let our money sit, and someone is profiting off of that because they're using that money. And so not only is the banks leveraging our money, but they're getting that money back and they're leveraging it out, and they're turning that money multiple times. And as a result, they're able to make some really amazing profits. And because of velocity, because they understand that, they constantly want to get their money at work. Now, Albert Einstein didn't even say that compound interest was the eighth wonder of the world, but even if he did, this is what I would say to him. Control is the ninth wonder of the world, and he who understands it may not even need the eighth wonder. See, if you gave me the option to take compounding or control, I'm going to choose control every day, because while compounding is a powerful long-term strategy, control is one of those things that you can ultimately double or triple your efforts and your impact by controlling capital. And this is something that don't devalue in yourself. Don't give up control as it relates to your wealth and your money. See, here was my dilemma. And this is not just my dilemma. In fact, I know a lot of you are struggling with the same dilemma. And it's this, that at the end of the day, I feel like there's this tug of war between like my money compounding for the future, or should I control my money? And I remember being at the bank, seeing the importance of compound growth, going to school, learning that we just need to put $500 a month in and we'll become a millionaire because money will compound. But I also, in my head, I'm like, man, I want to control my money. I want to use my money to invest in the things that I care about. And there kind of seems to be, we have to make this choice. We are given a false choice in our life. We're given this idea that we need to choose between one or the other. And the reality is you don't have to choose. Like, what if you could have both? And I know if I just started here, if I just was like, you don't have to choose, like, I want you to understand that these are two powerful forces. I want you to understand that if you truly have uninterrupted compound growth, you're going to outperform most people in their retirement. But then also as an entrepreneur, I want you to understand the power of controlling your money. What if you didn't have to choose? What if you could have both? And that's quite frankly what I wrote about in my book, The And Asset, is don't choose anymore. So this next strategy, this account that I'm going to share with you, is not something that I made up. In fact, it's been in use for over 100 years. People like Walt Disney, I mean, we wouldn't have Mickey Mouse if it wasn't for this. Or people like Ray Kroc use this to help them start McDonald's. And I just offended every single person because people on both sides of the aisle, Republican and Democrat, have used this account and this strategy throughout their life. In fact, most Fortune 500 companies have this on their balance sheet, and most banks, over 3,800 banks in the US alone, have this. We talked about the profits of Bank of America. Bank of America owns over 22 billion of this. What in the world is this? It's life insurance. Now, if you were like me the first time, or if you were like most people that just heard this for the first time, you're like, what? Like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about, life insurance? And if you were like me, that were taught that life insurance was the worst place to put your money, I was really mad. I was ticked. That, like, what do you mean life insurance? Like, life insurance, we all know that it's the worst place to put your money. You'd be better off burying it under your mattress or in back of your yard, putting in your life insurance because of the high commissions, because of the lack of growth, because it's like, who would want to put their money in the life insurance? Now, just to clarify, I kind of said life insurance is a shock value, but really, this is not your typical life insurance policy. This is not what your friend or relative is telling you. This is not what your parents, what your parents have and what they've referenced. And this is definitely not something that you've seen on TV. This is the exact opposite of what most people think as it relates to their life insurance. Think about this like a private club, like you're going into a members only, you have a membership to a private club that most people can't get in. See, most people use life insurance and it's this thing that they want to, maximize, right? They want to like pay a little bit of money in and protect their family. But think of this special account as the exact opposite. Think about us getting the life insurance, and that's like your admission to join this country club. And all the other benefits, the golfing, the swimming, the access to people and the food, all those benefits come along for that admission. And in fact, you could make the argument the more you use those amenities, the better you're off. And this is an example that I want to share with you is yes, we are technically using life insurance, but this is totally different than what you think of when you think of life insurance. And in fact, we're trying to minimize what most people are talking about and maximize what very few people know about. And this is a special, very, very special type of life insurance. So I want to do my best to break this down because we are reverse engineering. We're doing the exact opposite of what most people think of when they think of life insurance. In fact, we want to get the least amount of insurance and the most amount of cash. Now, when we think of life insurance, this is you, and you are ultimately creating a contract with an insurance company. And that contract, think of that contract as your membership to your country club. That is your ticket to get all the benefits that I'm going to be sharing with you. Now, when we think of this special type of contract, we need to, first of all, understand that it's specially designed. And when you specially design a contract, you're minimizing the insurance benefit and maximizing the cash. In other words, you're overpaying as much money as possible and getting the least amount of insurance benefit. Why do you want that? Because yes, the insurance, I guess, is important, but we care less about the insurance and we care way more about the cash and the cash benefit and what that does throughout your life. The other thing is, when set up and used properly, this is one of the greatest legal tax loopholes in the tax code, because once your money's in, it will grow the rest of your life. You can use it the rest of your life. You can pass it on after you pass away, tax-free. See, this is incredible. Like, that is why most people are doing this, because the tax benefits alone are truly, truly incredible. So especially designed, meaning minimizing the insurance, maximizing the cash, making sure that your money will grow, you can access it, and you can pass it on tax-free. And the best part is you get to leverage, you get to use this as you get to leverage your account. This is ultimately the and asset, because your money can grow and you can use it at the same time. And I'll break this down a little bit more on a later slide. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to go back to our 12 benefits, and I wanted to actually add an additional bonus, like a cherry on top, because when we're dealing with life insurance, there's another benefit that none, whether it's 401k, IRA, Roth IRA, savings account, don't even have, and that's the death benefit. So let's quickly go through this. When set up and used properly, and I'm going to continue to say that because you can't just go to anyone, or you can't just go to any company. It's actually very rare that people get this right, but when set up and used properly, this is by far the very best place to have your money. It's the very best, most efficient way to use your money throughout your life. So number one, it's super safe. Your money is safer than bank accounts when it's in these contracts. It's easily accessible. It gets a competitive rate of return, especially when you add in the fact of you don't have to pay percentage-based fees, it's tax-free, and you get to compound your money the rest of your life. This will outperform most investments, not because it gets a better rate of return, but because you're playing a lifetime game rather than just a retirement game. It's leverageable, which is really key. There's built-in guarantees. You don't have to pay a percentage-based fee. It's free of regulations. You don't have any unnecessary contribution limits to how much money you can put in. It's creditor protected. It's now deduction. You don't get a deduction to your plan. This is one of the downfalls, I guess, to this account, because at the end of the day, it works a lot like a Roth, because once your money's in, it grows tax-free, it can be used tax-free, and the death benefit is income tax-free. And so you don't get a deduction today, but if you gave me the option to deduct money today and risk for what the future could hold versus take responsibility of my tax today and ultimately not have to worry about that, I'm going to take responsibility and have my money grow the rest of my life. And so that's just the reality of where we're at. Now, when it comes to these contracts, there's also a couple things that we need to know about. I referenced Warren Buffett earlier. Warren Buffett is known for being this amazing, amazing investor, and he buys insurance companies. And in fact, he knows how profitable insurance companies are. These contracts that we're doing, the special membership-only club, is not at all talking about the insurance companies that Warren goes to, because he ultimately would profit from it. We want to mutually own means we get to participate in the benefits. Just like a credit union, we get to participate in some of the benefits. We want to work with companies that we have ownership in, and this is really, really important. We also, instead of the insurance costs being lower, we care more about the cash value, and so we want to participate in the profits paid in dividends, which are also tax-free if it's set up and used properly. And finally, we want to work with a company that has a safe track record. We want to work with a company that has stood the test of time. We want to work with a company that has gone through the Great Depression, that has gone through the dot-com bubble, that has gone through 2008, and has stayed the test of time and has faithfully been profitable every single year for over 100 years. So how can your money be growing and you use it at the same time? I want you to think about this. I want you to think about, because this was really the aha moment for me. I remember sitting in my office, and I remember looking at, because I was reading books on this, people were telling me about the power of this, and I remember sitting back, and I remember it hitting me. I had the aha moment. I was like, are you telling me that my money's going to grow the rest of my life? And to use my money, I'm not taking my money, I'm borrowing against it, but my money will still grow and I can still have access to my money. Like, how is that possible? It's possible because we're using leverage and we're using collateral. And when you use your savings as collateral and you have guaranteed access to leverage and using other people's money, and you marry those two things together, you now have the most efficient long-term compound effect, but you also have the most efficient use of your capital. And this alone is just a total game changer. Now, I want to cover 3 types of people, and there's a difference between what you use your money on and how you use it. Now, there's a lot of people that will tell you to invest in real estate, to invest in your business, and I'm going to defer and say, listen, I believe you know what's best for you. There's no way that I can give you investment advice, but I do want to give you efficiency advice right now. Is no matter what you're doing, whether when you're buying a liability or paying an asset, how you use your money throughout your life is vitally important. Now, there's 3 types of people. There's a debtor, and a debtor is like most of Americans, okay? They're going into debt, they're paying interest, and they're spending their whole life on this treadmill of paying interest, going into debt, having to work, and at the end of the day, they're spending their whole life not in control of their life, not in control of their money, and paying a lot of unnecessary interest to people that they don't even like. So everyone looks at this and says, I don't want to be a debtor, so we assume the only other person that we can be is a saver. And the saver saves up money and pays cash for things, and saves up money and pays cash for cars, and saves up money and pays cash for college, and saves up money and pays cash for their house, saves up money and pays cash for their business. You get the point, and they don't pay any interest and they think that they're winning, but the sad reality is this: every time they pay cash, they lose what that money could have earned them the rest of their life. Probably one of the biggest aha moments that I had was I realized that I'm not winning by paying cash, because every time I'm draining my money's no longer able to grow for me ever again. And there's a cost to that. I don't pay any interest, but I lose interest by playing this game. And so Nelson Nash and a lot of my mentors would say the phrase, you finance everything that you purchase. Every decision you make has a cost to it. You're either losing interest by paying cash, or you're paying interest. There's no free lunch to the game. And so ultimately, there's a cost to everything that you do. Every decision you make has a consequence. So I want to talk to you about the person that uses life insurance, the person that understands the and asset, the person that understands leverage and collateral can actually say, what if I could take my money and have it grow the rest of my life? But then I also could, borrow against it and do amazing things with it. Well, here's what would happen is your money would grow, and instead of taking that money out, disrespecting the 8th wonder of the world, you now have access to your capital and your money still grows. And it really looks like this. It's not a free lunch. It's not a free access to your money. It's just the most efficient long-term and short-term way to use your capital. And this is really, really important because we're playing a lifetime, long-term game. We also have to understand that using your capital is so very important. Think about the difference between a credit card and a debit card. Now, there's people out there that are anti-credit cards because people get themselves in big trouble. You may be watching this that have credit card debt today, and you know the effects of like using your credit card and having that crazy interest. But for the people that pay off their credit card balances diligently, there's a benefit for using your credit card because you get points. I know that I've been able to fly places for free. I've been able to buy things with points, and nothing changed. It's just the way that I spent my money was different from a card to a debit card. The same thing goes with this. The person that knows the rule of the game, the person that is running their money through these accounts are just getting certain benefits because they have the knowledge, they're using their brains and getting benefits to their cash long-term and in short-term. And it's like buying a bunch of inventory with credit cards, paying it off, getting those points instead of not risking it, being ignorant and using your credit card. And I again, hopefully, like, debit cards are key and sometimes they're a good place to start, but credit cards are great if you use them responsibly. Now, let's revisit the real estate example. Now let's say you have this opportunity. Now I'm gonna use real estate because we all can kind of like see that in our head, but it could be a business opportunity, it could be a marketing opportunity, it could be hiring an employee. Regardless of what it is, just think what that would be. And so you have $100,000 in your and asset. You have $100,000 that you have access to, and you have the ability to make a profit over, and we're gonna say 18 months. So you're like the world's worst real estate flipper, but you know that if you dump in $100,000, over 18 months, you'll be able to sell that and make $100,000 worth of profit. Again, this is real estate, but this could be anything, okay? That's a pretty amazing rate of return. And you're able to take advantage of it because you're using money for your favor. Now, here's the deal. Here's what's going on. Your life insurance, your $100,000 is never leaving, right? Because if you spend cash on it, you lose what that money could have earned you the rest of your life. So what's happening in your life insurance long term? Well, over 10 years, your $100,000 would grow to $148,000. Over 30 years, your $100,000 would be over $324,000. And over 60 years, you would have over $1 million in your account if all you did was keep it and it was earning 4%. Now, on the flip side, you borrow against your money, allowing your money to continue to grow, and you're able to, let's say you have to borrow at a greater rate. Why would you ever do that, right? You're only earning 4, why would you earn 5? Well, the reason you would do that is over 18 months of paying that back, you would pay $7,772 worth of interest. That's if you flip that's simple compounded interest of you taking that money and paying it back after 18 months. Okay, now let me ask you a question. Would you be willing to pay $7,772,000 over that 18 months period to make over $100,000 and have your money grow for the rest of your life? See, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is too good to be true. There is a cost to using your money. The point that I want to make is there's a cost in whatever we do, whether you pay cash, whether you don't use your money as collateral. In every decision we make, there's a long-term and a short-term cost. And I'm just simply making the argument that this is the best, most efficient way to save and use your money throughout your life. Now, in summary, what's the value of having your dollar, grow for the rest of your life, but able to use it throughout your life? And I gave a couple of examples of what's the value of having your money safe, liquid, guaranteed rate of return, having these special tax advantages, having guaranteed loan provision to give you the ability to do what I call asset-based activities or liability-based activities. Asset-based activities actually put money back in your pocket, whereas liability activities actually take money and take it away from you, and it still might be necessary, like a vacation or a car or whatever. But really, if you can use your money in a way that puts money back in your pocket, but you do it in such a way that your money is still growing, think about how powerful that is. Think about how key that is, and that will be in your life. Now, usually at this time, I get a lot of questions and say, Caleb, this sounds way too good to be true. I don't believe you. Why haven't I ever heard of this? Why? Tell me. And listen, I'm going to just be completely frank with you and go over a couple reasons why you've never heard of this. And let me address this. What are the negatives? Well, the negative is this. Not everyone qualifies because this is life insurance. Because to get the membership, you have to qualify health-wise. Now, there's creative ways that we can do that if you're not healthy enough to do this. And at the end of the day, we don't care about the insurance benefit. So all we got to do is get the green light. You do have to qualify. And the second thing is you don't have dollar for dollar access to all your money. So if you put your money in a savings account, long term, you have less you have more liquidity, but long term, you're making no money. In the short term, you don't have all access to all your money, but very soon you break even, and very soon you actually have more money than what you put in. So those things, obviously, we can get in. I have more videos that go into actually the mathematical numbers. And so it's not too good to be true. There's actually a cost to whatever you do. But here's why you haven't heard of this. Number one is Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. And I know that sounds crazy for me to say that, but Wall Street makes no money, the banks make no money when you do this strategy. And they are institutions that thrive on controlling our money. Number two is the 401k is a super popular investment. It hasn't been around for that long, but ever since it's been, in the US, in part of our tax code, people have just flooded their money to the 401k and been seduced by the idea of an employer match and that it's going to grow our money tax-free, which it's not, and where we're going to get such a great rate of return. And the reality is that's a lie. It's not performing in the way that you think it's performing. The third reason is tax advantages. The people that are taking advantage of this, the corporations, the ultra wealthy, the people that have wealth, there's a reason they're there, And a lot of times we, out of a scarcity mindset, don't want to share that with other people. And there is a statement that says if everyone knew this, the government would have to change certain things. And while people that took action now would be grandfathered in, this may not last forever. And there's a part of us that doesn't want every single person to know that this exists. The fourth thing, and this is what I think is a really big thing, is life insurance is super misunderstood and it's super unconventional. I'm not going to be up here saying, like, you're crazy if you don't do this. I understand. Like, most of the people that you talk to have never heard of this, and most of the people that think you will be totally crazy if you do this. We have people that truly care a ton about people and are on the radio and write books about how to help people with money, and they literally say that life insurance is the worst place to put your money. In fact, this is what I believed when I started, and that's why it took me over 2 years to even get the fact of why someone would want to save their money in life insurance. Here's what I'll say. 99% of life insurance is a terrible place to put your money. 99% of the time, you are better off listening to them. But if you do work with the right person, if you do set up the right account, it is the very best place to save your money. But sad reality is most people just do a quick Google search or just listen to typical advice and say, man, I don't want to be a part of this. Another thing is when you set this up properly, when you work with experts that actually tailor make this for you, you're actually significantly cutting the commissions that you get. See, going back to the membership, we get paid a percentage of that insurance cost. But if we're making this as small as possible and maximizing your cash as possible, what we're doing is we're making it better for you, and ultimately we're taking less on our part. And at the end of the day, I love that because we get clients all over the country to give us more money, and it's a win-win. But a lot of people are again, they even if they know about this, they're like, I won't be able to survive if I do this the right way. And so the sad reality is most people that even know this are kind of incentivized to not do the right thing. And again, I don't want to make any assumptions about if you've worked with someone in the past or if someone's tried to talk to you about this. Like, again, a lot of people don't even know that this exists. But there is this conflict of interest that we have throughout our life. And I have a whole dedicated team. We have clients all over the country doing this. I have a dedicated team that I pay to help people with the service work. And the reality is a lot of people just have an assistant or might just be on their own. And if you're just on your own, this is way too hard to create a business model, to create a servicing model of helping people save and use their money throughout their life. And finally, it's finding the right person. Most people don't even know that this exists. Most people don't have the specialized knowledge to actually help you set this up and help you use this. In fact, I'm here at TaxSpot, and Jake has a story that he talks about him coming from the investment banking world, him understanding that like the people are doing this strategy, he's going and he had to teach his own guy how to set this up. And while he set up himself up with a great plan, can you imagine not like working with someone that you have to help them create their plan? And so many people are working with people that have not been blessed enough like me to learn from experts all across the country. Now I want to finish with this drawing that I draw for every single person. In fact, if I sign books, a lot of you will get this in a signed book because I believe so much in this. So this stick figure represents you, and I'm sorry, this is hopefully you don't look like this, but anyways, this is you. And by putting your money in the and asset, by using this strategy, your dollar is going to grow the rest of your life without taxes, losses, and fees. Again, if set up and used properly, it's super powerful and it will outperform most investments. But it will also be able to you'll be able to use this collateral, or you'll be able to use your money throughout your life to do certain things, whether it's invest in your business, real estate. Regardless of what that is, you'll be able to use that capital to do the things that you want throughout your life. And finally, this will show up powerfully in retirement. I didn't even talk about the retirement benefits that this has, but just know that there's a lot of problems in retirement accounts, and these will outperform. These will show up better because you're never going to lose your money. You won't have to worry about taxes. The death benefit actually unlocks other asset classes and helps you be able to just get more money when you want to use that. And that same dollar doesn't just compound, is not just available for you to use, doesn't just show up in retirement, but it also protects the most important asset, which is yourself. What's the value of giving your dollar multiple jobs? See, just a quick kind of story on myself is like, I saw the power of this when I was on a plane going to Guatemala. See, one of my core values, one of the things that I live for is I want to serve people. Like, I want to see people, like, it breaks my heart that people go through their life not with clean water and don't live, like, I just, quite frankly, being an American, I've taken a lot for granted. And so I didn't want to just wait till someday in retirement to go serve. And so I was on a plane, and I remember thinking how crazy it was that my money was growing for the future, but it was allowing me to live and serve today. That was one of the first times that I used my plan. My plan also allowed me to leave the bank and start Better Wealth and write my book. And while that was, again, a super hard time in my life, I realized that I'm able to do what I love. I'm able to further my mission because my account is still growing, but it's giving me access to use my money. And I also get to drive a pretty fun, fast car because, again, my money is continuing to grow, but I'm able to do the things and enjoy life throughout the way. Now, TaxBot, I'm in TaxBot's headquarters, and Jake Randall also has a powerful story of him coming from the investment banking world and saying, this is so powerful, and he started using this account, and in fact, he had an opportunity, a very juicy real estate opportunity that he used his account. His money's still growing to this day, but he was able to access money really quickly and take advantage of this real estate opportunity, and he made over 800% on that one deal alone, because he was able to act fast. And the reason I'm here is a lot like TaxBot's realizing that this is such a powerful strategy, and they serve entrepreneurs, and they're like, man, our community, our tribe needs to see the power of this whole strategy. And so I'm grateful that these guys are in my life. I want to introduce to you Ryan Taft. Ryan Taft's become a dear friend. He's an entrepreneur, he's an author, he's a motivational speaker, and he in fact travels around the country teaching people about real estate. And when he came to me and he's like, Caleb, listen, I get this whole idea of you are your greatest asset. I get real estate. But listen, my dad, who's an entrepreneur, died broke, and I saw him struggle through retirement because he had no money working for him. He was constantly on this treadmill for life. And I don't want to be like that. And when Ryan understood that his money was going to grow, when he understood that this could show up in retirement, and he understood how that would work, and when he understood that this is also an asset that he could also invest in himself, he could also invest in real estate, he's like, I don't have to choose between retirement and now. And now Ryan's become a huge advocate for me and our message, and wanted me to share his story with you today. Now, I also want to introduce to you a dear friend of mine, Beau Crabill. Beau is an incredible friend of mine. He teaches people how to make money on Amazon. He's made millions of dollars buying and selling on Amazon. And I've actually been able to speak on his stage because when he realized that his money could grow for the future, but he could also use his capital to invest in inventory or to buy other businesses, he's like, Caleb, you're telling me that my money will grow 30, 40, 50 years and I can still control it? I said, absolutely. And when he saw the math to that, I mean, we'll talk about someone that's leveraging their dollars properly and wisely and able to do a lot of crazy, amazing things. And this was an event that I was at in Vegas where I got to speak to this team as it relates to how they could save and use their money at the same time. Now, I know you might be watching this and being like, Caleb, I get it. You're super passionate about this. I get that this works for Jake. I get that this works for Ryan and Beau, but I'm not this rock star entrepreneur. See, I make some money. I want to be like that, but I'm not. Or maybe you don't even identify as this being like this, making a ton of money. Will this work for me? I want to introduce to you my friend Demetrius. Now, Demetrius came to me and we met in college, and he said he was an employee at the time. And he's like, Caleb, like, I want to do something smart with my money, and you've always been passionate about money, so what should I do? And I started teaching him this, and once he started grasping it, he didn't fully understand the power of this, but he took action. He started saving, and then he met a girl, and through this process, he was gonna ask her to marry him, and he was able to use his plan to buy that engagement ring to ultimately proposed to the love of his life, and now he's married. And the cool thing is, after that, he's used his plan to invest in business, and now he's an entrepreneur. And I'm not going to say that this plan was the reason he's an entrepreneur, but it's been a tool that he's used to live the life that he wants to live, and it's just incredible. And so you don't need to be this super, super successful person to start. It can work with people like Demetrius, people that want to start saving their money and maybe not knowing what they want to do right now, but it giving them opportunities in the future. And I want to share with you Naira. Naira is also a dear friend of mine, but she doesn't identify as an entrepreneur. She's a single mom that loves her kids, and all she wanted was a place that she didn't have to gamble in the market, and she wanted a place that she could save and invest in her assets, which are her kids. And whether it's for future college plans, whether it's to go on that vacation, whether it's just to save up for something, an emergency that's going to happen, she's able to be present with her family, but her money's able to grow for the rest of her life. And I use this as an example because not everyone wants to be this entrepreneur. People like Naira don't even aspire to be an entrepreneur, but this account is amazing for people like her that want to invest in their family. Now, I'm going to go back to this drawing. What's the ROI of giving your dollar multiple jobs? This is a question that you have to ask yourself, because if you get this, if you get like a common question I'll get is, Caleb, like I can get a better rate of return, or like, you know, like they come up with these ideas like life insurance still is not that great of a rate of return, but they miss the fact that your dollar's multidimensional. It's multidimensional, and it's not just one. We're not just talking about one thing. So it's because of this that I am on an audacious, bold mission to insure 1 million people by 2025, because I believe if people understand the power of this, there's going to be a line outside the door. If people understand what that drawing that I just shared with, they understand this, there's going to be a line outside the door, and I want to be a part of insuring 1 million people by 2025. Now, I want to talk to you about our Better Wealth Blueprint. Our Better Wealth Blueprint is an implementation package. See, we're not going to hold any information back. You can get my book, you can go onto YouTube, you can watch this presentation, you can listen to my podcast. We want to give you that information, and we don't want to hold anything back from you. But we also understand that by taking action, like that's the true value. Like not everyone knows what they're doing. And in fact, you need to work with someone licensed. And we have a 4-step process that's really simple. Have clarity on what you want. And real quick, we use ROR not as rate of return, but return on result. Have a clarity on what results you actually want. Become super efficient with the money that's going through your life. We increase cash flow. We look at how to maximize your assets. We look at the best ways to minimize your liabilities. And we want to make sure that you can become efficient with the money that you currently have. And that alone becomes incredibly valuable as it relates to helping people get the result that they want to get. And in fact, most people save significant amount of money just on the efficiency step alone. The 3rd step is we set up these accounts the right way. We set them up with the right company, and we show you how to use them throughout your life. So not only do we set them up, but we are here helping you use it throughout your life. And the 4th way is we're here for you as you're investing in your business, as you're using your money throughout your life. There may be coaching opportunities or opportunities that you can better leverage your money. And those 4 steps, getting clarity or your why, understanding the efficiency of your money, setting up your savings and asset account, and using it are the 4 steps that we help people with our Better Wealth Blueprint. And I believe so much in this that I want you to take action. I realize that implementation is the true value. You can learn till you're blue in the face. You can read all the other great books out there, but we ultimately want to help you get the result that you're out here to get. We want to help you actually live the life that you want to live and reach your highest potential. And so I've trained a team to help you come alongside you and create your own personal blueprint, and truly want you to take action. Now, I said that this was a priceless move for me, and I could tell you, I could do what a lot of marketers do and say it's a value of this, and like you get to work with me or a Better Wealth coach, and it's like a $3,000 value, and you'll get to learn from, you'll get to get access to our community, which you will, and that's super valuable, and you'll get access to people that think like you, and there's so much value. Like I could, in integrity, sell this for $25,000. 100% integrity, because I know just from the mindset alone, just from being and learning from the principle, I mean, we're just scratching the surface. Just the mindset alone, it's massive value. But I'm not going to play those games with you. At the end of the day, we as a company are making this most affordable so that you can get the result that you want to get, because it goes back to the mission that keeps me up and ultimately makes me so passionate about this movement, is to insure 1 million people. Because of what this next story, of what I'm going to share with you, Greg Helema is like a second dad to me. I met Greg when I was 14 years old, and he, right when I was in the chicken days, and we would talk about things like girls, we would talk about things like school, we would talk about things like business ideas, and we would meet actually at McDonald's. We'd have our $1 coffee, and he just was a huge encouragement in my life. In fact, when I was learning this for the first time, he took a risk on me and became a client of mine. And he's also had an incredible story, because he used his account to invest in their hobby farm and made great rates of return with what they were able to do. And he was able to use his account for an emergency account, and they were able to do some amazing efficiency deals. And Greg was actually at the point where he was going to leave his job and help me build better wealth because we realized the power of what this could do for people in their life. And I still remember the day that I got the call from Greg, and he said, Caleb, like, I just want you to know that I got diagnosed with stage 4 terminal cancer, liver cancer. And I remember thinking in my head, it didn't fully register. Like, I'm like, Greg, you're one of the most healthy people I know. Like, what are you talking about? And then over the next year and a half, I saw one of my best friends, one of my mentors, a father figure in my life, go through literally hell as he lost his life this year. And I saw a man who was super intentional that increased his intentionality. And I saw a guy that once this registered in his life, went back and we held a seminar while he was suffering from chemotherapy. We traveled to Canada to teach some of his family, the power of this strategy, and connected with someone who's in Canada that I work to this day. And I remember sitting across the table with Greg weeks before he passed away, drawing out the plan that we now have implemented for his family today. And I remember him thinking, like, Caleb, like, thank you. Like, we always talk about the benefits of this money growing for the future. We always talk about the benefits of this showing up in retirement. We always talk about the benefits of you being your greatest asset, but we totally don't talk about this showing up for my family. And I'm sharing this with you. I'm in the studio, and actually one of Greg's sons is working on our team filming this. And it's so special not only just to be still, for me to be a part of this family, but also just see the legacy of Greg move on. And all I share this by saying, yes, I get super excited about all of what this can do for you and your business, and it's amazing, and the math works. And there's a lot of reasons why you need to do this. But the other thing that I just want to say out of integrity is, like, make sure that you're intentional with your life. Make sure that you, like, take a step back and say, what kind of life do I want to live? And one thing that Greg said to me, and he's always been an intentional person, but he said, Caleb, the best gift of cancer is I always thought I was an intentional person, but it's made me more intentional. And my plea to you is, make sure that every day matters. Take every day at a time. Don't wait for something that you want to do. If you want to do that business idea, go for it. If you want to go and do the thing that you need to do, go do it. But don't wait. Regardless if you feel like you need to do this strategy or not, don't wait on doing what you need to do, because I'm super glad that Greg didn't wait, because he got the very best rating. He was the healthiest person that you would ever meet. And then out of the blue, he dies of cancer. And so all I want to just encourage you is, take action, make sure to take a self-assessment, and really take action on what you need to do as it relates to taking control of your money. And whether it's with my team or someone else, make sure that you're working with someone that understands what you want to accomplish, helps you with efficiency, helps you set up this account, and shows you a way to use it in a way that's powerful in your life.